Well, sitting in place of Peter Jones was going to be here to talk about the Schenectady Job Fair. I'm going to tell you the information because something must have happened. He's not here. It's on March 20th at Key Hall, Proctor's, from 10 to 4. That's March 20th. And you can go to their website at www.capital.jobdevelopmentgroup.org, and you can find out more about it and find out how you can get a job. But right now I have Leo Quinn. Leo Quinn Jr. has been a helper a long time ago, and he just popped by today, and wow, how serendipitous was that? We're putting him on the show. And he talks about how to own your paycheck, or you've got a book,
workshop
right?
is called How to Own Your Paycheck Again, and I'm sorry, I was just cramming for the job fair stuff. I Googled all this job fair stuff. I thought I was going to
have to talk about that.
Darn it. Now, my workshop is called How to Own Your Paycheck Again, and focus on showing people how to pay off their debts in the most efficient way possible.
And how do you do that? Just get a loan?
No, that's going deeper into debt. That's a bad strategy. Essentially, it's focusing on the ones you can get rid of the quickest. And some people will say, well, shouldn't I focus on the high interest rates first? And I look at it like losing weight. If you've dieted hard for a week and you get on that scale and you've gained weight, you're probably not going to be dieting the next week.
That's right.
So I like to focus on your
the
smallest
small
one.
increments.
Yeah, just so
that's
you
a
can.
Good idea. That's a very good idea.
Well, it's certainly not my idea, but it's one that surprises people sometimes, because if they're not well read on personal finance issues and things of that nature. But it's human nature. We like to see progress being made quickly.
You want to know you made some.
Right.
And I want to mention that he sends out a newsletter, and I always read his newsletter whenever he sends it out. And the amazing thing is that people do comment on this idea that it works.
Sure, absolutely. I've been doing this since 1997. I've been doing the workshops mostly around the Capital District, and I've got a nice mailing list, and I try to help people with their personal finance, keeping them motivated and things of that nature. So it's been an interesting 15 years.
And I love that you do videos. You actually, he calls up companies.
I'm actually going to be doing that today, I think. I'm going to, and one of the local news stations did something like this recently. They called their cable company and asked for a lower rate. And I'm going to call...
You did that.
I did that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to update it just because I think it'll work now. Particularly, I have an iPhone. I think I pay well over $100 for it a month. And now I'm seeing offers of iPhones for $50 a month. And of course, some of the services are different. But I'm going to call up and talk to my company and say, hey, I'm paying this with you. What's to keep me from going to this company and paying $50 a month? And they're going to say, well, we can do this, that, and the other thing. And I say, well, that's all right.
It's not worth it.
Not worth it for an extra $100.
Yeah.
And so I am probably going to record that and just put it out to my list, because a lot of people are afraid to do something like that. And the thing they want to think about these days is, with social media, companies really can't afford to be nasty to you on the phone like they did. Because people will tweet about it, people will put it on Facebook, and all their friends will see it. So
absolutely.
You have a lot more power as a consumer than you did in the past, particularly with the social media. So I have no problem doing this. The most they can say is no.
And just don't be mean to the people you talk
Absolutely,
to.
yeah.
It's a job for them.
It is,
Yeah.
right. And they have the same pressures in their life that you do. If you're getting calls from credit card companies that you owe money to, you're behind on, it's likely that the employees you're talking to, the people you're talking to, are in similar situations.
Exactly.
So they're facing the same thing you are. They're not going to be nasty to you just because, as the recording will often say, this call is being recorded. So they're worried about that sort of backlash as well.
When we talked to the people from taxes last week, and one of the things that came up we talked about is, like, you get this money, you get a refund. What do you suggest for people who get a refund on their taxes?
I suggest not getting a refund. Adjusting your withholding so you don't get this big, huge $3,000 to $5,000 check back.
Okay.
Because there'll be more money in your paycheck you can have week to week, so you don't get behind on things. So it's a matter of adjusting your withholding.
How do you do that?
Well, hopefully your payroll administrator at work would be able to help you. I'm sure that organization would be able to direct you as to adjusting your withholding.
So you can add more dependents if you have to.
Yes, even if you don't have them. I mean, it's I'm not an accountant. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but
it's a way of getting the money back in your.
Yes.
I mean, don't do anything dishonest, right?
No, absolutely not. Talk to your accountant or financial planner or payroll administrator at work to get the best thing. So it's a forced savings plan for a lot of people. they think that if I get $3,000 to $5,000 back in April or May, hey, that's great, I can do whatever I want. But it's
And buy that
probably
big screen TV, right?
yeah, it's probably costing them money in the long run
Yeah.
because they're getting behind on things or they're paying higher interest than they have to.
Right. Now, I know that talking about interest, you're paying out interest, but you don't get much interest now when you put money in the bank.
Oh gosh,
so.
no. When I started doing my workshops.
I think it's down to point. I just went to the bank and it was like, we can give you 0.35%. I says, 0.35. I said, oh, go ahead and make it 10 years because even if I take it out, I haven't lost anything.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. When I started doing my workshops in 1997, I still have the overheads I used. I still use the overheads. And it says 2.2% on my savings account in Ballston Spa National.
I know.
And I always preface in the class by saying, now please don't go to Ballston Spa National because they still don't pay 2.2%.
Well, I was cleaning the basement and I found a bank book that I had 14.5% interest. And you all remember that you got a set of luggage at the same time.
Not a toaster?
It was a CD. They'd give you a set of luggage and you...
When was that? Now, do you still have that account? Did you go?
No, you know how that goes.
Account?
Yeah. I mean, but I found that and I said, oh my heavens. I remember that. It was a CD and it was paid 14%. I was like, are you kidding?
The good old days. But mortgages were probably much higher.
Yeah, they were, yeah. You were buying a balloon. You didn't want to get the balloon because then, whatever. I mean, who knows? Things change. And one of the things that I've noticed over my lifetime, which is a little longer than yours, is that because you learned a rule as a kid, those rules don't stand up. Talk about that maybe a little bit, how things change financially.
I don't know any of the rules from when you were growing up. But
well, you never charged anything. You never charged anything. Well, you paid off your house immediately.
You paid cash for your car.
Yeah, right.
If I recall correctly, Lee Iacocca, when he was at the Ford Motor Company, he started car loans. I think that's my understanding.
Did he really? We could have.
You paid cash for cars before then.
Yeah, you did.
Back when I was starting in '97, people were, I would tell people to pay off your mortgage. And I would get some pushback on that because people were thinking, well, I'm earning 20% in the stock market. I've got a 7% mortgage.
Yeah, why would I do that?
Yeah, I don't get that argument
Yeah,
anymore.
but now it's switched.
Right.
There's a flip on that.
Pay off that mortgage. And one thing I will suggest for folks if they're having financial trouble is an organization. You see a lot of ads for consumer protection and get your debts forgiven and things like that. You want to avoid organizations like that. There's a great organization, it's nfcc.org, and that's National Foundation of Consumer Counselors or something, nfcc.org.
Oh, I don't have that. That's right. I'll get it from you.
Yeah, nfcc.org, and they link to organizations in your area that will help you with your debt, and it's like $20 a month. Anybody that's going to charge you hundreds of dollars to help you get out of debt, you probably want to run from them.
Yeah, because it's counterproductive.
You want to be careful of organizations advertising on the radio that they will help you get out of debt because their main package will be $97, which sounds great, certainly in the price range of what I sell my package for, but their follow-up is $7,000 to $14,000 in financial training. So they get you in the door with...
Are you kidding?
No, and I could give you the name, but I won't. They'll charge you $97 to get in the door for their Get Out of Debt program, and then they'll follow up with the coaching program for $7,000 to $14,000. And they call you up and they say, hey, we're here to help you get set up on your debt elimination plan, and they quiz you on your credit card debt. They quiz you on your credit card debt, and what they're looking for is room on your credit card. So you have $10,000 in available balance.
They're going to fill it up.
Absolutely. And
they're the ones that are helping you get out of it?
Helping you get out. I mean, it's a nasty, nasty business getting out of debt.
Oh, that's a dirty business.
It is. And they're backed by some very well-known companies, respected companies. But I've had more than one person tell me that they've
unknowingly got into it.
They were convinced that financial education was a good idea. And they'll use tactics like, oh, it'll cost you $50,000 or $100,000 to go to get a college education. We'll give you that same
for $14,000?
$7,000 or $14,000. And the thing is, the level of their education, the cost of their education will be whatever room you have on your credit card.
And so it's flexible.
And they'll be happy to put it on $2,000 on this card, $3,000 on this card, $5,000.
That's just like, I am shocked that he's telling me this. I hope you're listening. I want to ask you one more thing. I don't know if we have time, but I've been noticing ads for if you have an annuity, we'll give you, and they won't give you the money, we'll give you all the money. Do you know anything about that?
I don't. I know there are programs where...
But I can't imagine that you're going to get the full amount of your money. They're going to take a big cut of it.
I mean, if you have a fatal disease and you have life insurance, some will forward you some of that money ahead of time so you can live out your final how much ever time you have comfortably. There's reverse mortgages, which are if your house.
Reverse mortgages are different. They're good for some people and not so good for
yes,
others.
yeah, and of course the heirs don't like that. You know, they'll be getting some money from your house unless you spend
But I
it
mean,
all.
it allows you to stay in your home longer if you
Yes.
don't have the income, and I understand it that works. There's a lot of people. Just remember, there's a lot of people that want to get to your money.
Absolutely, and large chunks of it, because there's a generation that now has a lot of equity in their home and some nice retirement funds, and you just want to tread very carefully. Get professional, unbiased help. Maybe your
Go
local,
to some of
your
Leo's
bank.
workshops maybe and find out a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
It's important to get on top of your finances, and Leo really had some good advice about paying off those debts, and if you start with your smaller ones. And the thing is, when you start off with those, don't charge more on it.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's the secret.
Yeah, it's to try and I went to one of his workshops many years ago, and he said something. Do you have a credit card? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you use it? And yeah. And then he said something, and I said, but I pay it off every month. And he says, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
So it was.
Well, everybody I meet pays off their credit cards every month. I don't know where all the credit card debt is coming from because
I don't
nobody
know.
admits to any credit card
Well,
debt.
I
Me
pay off
personally.
every month because I don't want. And one time, it got lost in the mail. Talk about calling them. And I called up and I said, I sent it in. And they go, well, we didn't get it. I said, but I sent it in. And so she said, well, it's like $35 if it's late
Depends,
or something
yeah.
or whatever. And she says, but since you've never paid late before, we'll take it off. So
There
calling
you go.
does
Absolutely.
help.
Absolutely. And Discover's doing a lot of advertising to
Oh,
that.
they're
right?
good. That they talk to a real person.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Yep.